The dangers of living the truth will put a lot of the world affairs at jeopardy. Once you take a hold of someone's mind, then their power becomes yours. The strongholds of today have gotten us distracted from the real battle. The real battle is within our mind and spirit. Those two are being rocked to sleep due to the things we consume on a daily, and that is any form of media that makes you reactive to instant gratification and pleasure through vices. Life becomes reaction based. You will always be playing catch up from that regard. Your life should be proactive because it can see beyond you and it penetrates life cycles and future generations. We all carry this light within our vision. Once we come to truly realize that every day presents a brand new opportunity, we will not live every day as if it was yesterday. We will live it as if tomorrow wasn't coming. When our ancestors was out surviving on whatever was hunted and gathered, they didn't have time to worry about next month. But here we are. Life presents us two things upon arrival: time and choices. Circumstances vary for all, but what we do with our time matter. Will we walk the paved road, or will we forge our name in a jungle where no one dared to go? The paved road is as wide as the ocean view, but leads to a dying spirit. The jungle is full of adventure and real-life danger that took the lives of the free spirits prematurely. The view is obscured by sounds, creatures, and life looking to throw you off your path. The path you've been making for yourself is narrow, lonely, and sometimes dark. You will soon encounter others in the jungle that will help you forge your path and sharpen your tools until you get to the mountaintop. So this is going to be part 2 to ideas to results. In the first one, we was talking about the natural world, which, just to wrap this all up, because that was a pretty long video, but it was talking about what it really means when we're talking about the natural world, the objective world, the world that came before human beings, before us, and highlighting how important that is to acknowledge that we come from humble beginnings and we have to align with what came before us, because it is also pushing us forward as we are pushing everything forward. And the examples of this is simply step outside and look at things that wasn't created by us. Look at other animals, look at the sky, look at the grass, look at the trees around you, and that should pretty much show you what the natural world is. And we really go in deep on that. So go check that out if you haven't watched that yet or listen to it. But the personal world, this is on the opposite end of it. So the natural world was focusing on simply the idea of where everything came from. And the emphasis that I'm going to put on with this one in particular for the personal world and this part of Power in the Mind's Eye, Ideas to Results, is the concept of the monad. So there's a lot of concepts that I'm going to be throwing out there. A lot of y'all are going to be like, huh, what is this guy talking about? But the mind's eye essentially is balancing two worlds. It gives us the ability to balance two worlds. And that's our personal world that we individually share with ourselves, and the natural world, which we all share with each other. And the natural world is one with us, but yet and still is different and separate. And there is a paradigm shift going on. And what's going on within us, everybody's feeling it. and it's being covered up. Something that you're going to hear me talking about in future's notice is the rise of a mental health crisis. But as the ancients would put it, they would look at this as a soul sickness. So we need some soul cleansing, honestly, for real. So this one is going to be a wild, wild journey, as well as the first one with the natural world. And we're simply going to be talking about the five senses. That's what our personal world essentially is. Yet again, that's something that we all share, but it's unique and different to every last one of us. I read the definition of natural on the last one to pretty much sum up what that one was going to be about. And that was existing in or caused by nature, not made or caused by humankind. So that's a rundown on that, what that's going to be. But that eventually trickles down to our personal world. And the definition of personal is of affecting or belonging to a particular person rather than to anybody else. And our senses give us a way to interact and engage with the natural world, even for those that are born with or develop disabilities. Their other senses are typically heightened. Our challenge is to create balance within ourselves to bring an authentic, unique experience to the natural world that can't be replicated, but at the same time supports life itself. That is where our responsibility is located, and our duty is to align our existence to the universe that we are born in. There is no set blueprint to get this done because it's a matter of creativity. We all had the same starting point and end point for our physical bond with life on Earth. So that brings me to another definition that's important. And this is another one that is going to be said and mentioned. Well, word is going to be said and mentioned a lot is expression. And the expression is to make known your thoughts and feelings. And expression lies at the heart of all matters pertaining to existence. This is to see the life itself. And we are walking examples of this, which means we don't have to look far. The journey will always start within us first. So my starting point, like I said, is going to be the five senses. The five senses includes our sight, our sound, our smell, what we can touch, and what we taste. Those are the codes of what's going on around us. And those codes inform us internally how to respond to those codes outside of us. So think about that. Those senses be firing off. But we're going to talk about the sixth sense, the mind, which all of those senses that I just said lead to. And to look at this from a physical sense, we have our eyes to see. We have our ears to hear. We have our nose to smell. We have our hands and feet to feel and touch things. And we have our mouth to be able to taste food. And all of this information that we get from those physical things that get those codes first, it leads straight up to our brain. That allows us to respond pretty much instantly to what's going on around us in our environment. And this points to something extremely critical. The heart of anything when you're listening to Purpose Served is simply going to be about purpose. Serving a purpose. And this brand represents that all life has purpose. Life in itself has purpose. And within life isn't death. Truly. You want to live the best life that you have because your life is temporary. My life is also temporary. But what we do in this life that we are given, it solidifies us. And this life go by rather quickly. And it's best that you serve your purpose to the best of your ability and reach that mark. Which that PS in the middle of that bullseye, that's what that means, to serve your purpose. When it's all said and done, and when your expiration date hit, you want to know that you served your purpose truly. And when dealing with purpose, like I said, this is going to begin within you first. It works like a resonance. And eventually, you're going to have to learn how to pick up skills through focus, and purpose is often shown rather than told. Through having a particular aim towards what you can do with the skill that you acquire for yourself can determine what you can show to the world. Your thoughts or feelings towards your goal is determined by your purpose. Your foundation must be strong to achieve the goal, which means a form must be picked up and fine-tuned. This typically starts with practice with the particular form. Others will begin to see it over time. You must be patient and sink into your purpose. It's a natural process in life which doesn't require force. It just requires initiative. So your purpose starts in the unseen. And through the service that you partake in, it is shown in the natural world. But for your journey, you have to start off in the unseen. And what do I mean by the unseen? Within yourself. Go back to the definition of personal. The biggest thing that's going to be preached here is not living an example of nobody else, but living your own life. And you were programmed to live a certain life. And don't think of this as a negative sense. This is going to, a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about is most likely you're going to have to ditch the old way you thought about learning things. Because ultimately you're going to need a higher level of thinking and feeling in order the process was being given to you. And ultimately, this is to help you practically take that shape in the world through your purpose, which, like I said, it starts in the unseen. And the seen is going to be seen in the actions that you take and the skill that you have. That is your gift. And personally, you can find this in sports. You can find this in art. You can find this in education. We all went through these processes. But you want to have to recognize that within yourself first to realize that you already been through the process and it's designed for you to go a certain way. And including myself, I can't tell you specifically what that thing is for you. But I can tell you this, that since you exist, you have a life to live. You're not dead yet. That was kind of crazy. But seriously speaking though, you mustn't dim your light. You have to shine that light. And it's very, very important that you do that. And the thing I want to highlight most importantly right now is sight. Because a lot of the things that we were talking about in the previous episode of Ideas to Results in the natural world was talking about light. And I snuck in a concept of the monad and what the monad is. And a monad is a single unit if you're looking at it from a Greek standpoint in its exact meaning. But in the context, was using it in the natural world as the creation of all things created by our Creator, which we're all connected to, which all of life is connected to, all of existence is connected to. And it's important that we all get to that point collectively. Because once we all get to that point collectively, we're going to realize the truth. That our truths are not as different as they're starting to be portrayed. And we also are being deceived at, quote unquote, living your own life. And it may sound like that's being preached here, but it's actually on the contrary, because it's a lot of sacrifice that comes with walking this path and truly seeing things for what they truly are, and using your senses for what they was used for, instead of having them being hijacked by what's going on right now. So whenever you see any lesson from ideas to results power with the mind's eye is going to be working with that inner light that you was blessed with, that monad within you, that single unit that connects you with all things. But at the same time, it gives you a personal relationship with your Creator that created all things, that created the monad, essentially speaking. And this is to get right now beyond the limitations that we put on ourselves from previous generations of religion, ways of looking at things that's so rigid and limited. Yet and still, universal truths live on. And that's the most important thing to live off of, to be quite honest. Because that means that truth is pertaining to existence and what goes on. And you must align with that in yourself. And you were placed there for a reason. And it is your responsibility to figure what that reason is. But through our five senses, something so basic and something so simple, but an overwhelming blessing that you can use to tap into your purpose. That's been helping you this whole entire time since you even got here. Like, I'm using my voice right now in order for my voice to reach your ears, which is all associated with sound. Think about that. And with that comes a lot of possibilities. But you must focus the power in your mind's eye, which brings all of those five senses to a point. And something that I want to talk about before I wrap this up is we're going to be looking at these two worlds and balancing them out, essentially speaking, the natural world and the personal world. We're going to start off with the natural world of a black hole and how a black hole works. So they say that black holes, once light reaches black holes, it can't escape. And black holes are so small and so dense that it comes to a point that they call the singularity. And that is at the center of our Milky Way, is that little small point. I also want to highlight in a personal world on the opposite end how our eyes work. Now, our eyes, they take in sunlight similar in the same way. well, light in general, the same way. And this light gives us information inverse. So pretty much the stuff that we see is flipped backwards, and then our brain arranges everything in the right order. How crazy is that? That it orders things before we even like able to realize that. But it goes to a point in the back of our eyes, our retina. And even with that, that's a really, really small point in itself. So, as within, so without, these two worlds replicate each other. And you have to find a balance in reality of these two things. And you can't stay still because everything is changing form as we speak. But the one thing that's not changing form is your monad. Find it.